We're starting in 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We start. Hey, everybody!
That was like the best intro ever.
You know what? I think we should take that recording and just copy that, and we'll put that on anything. Anybody ever want to start a live stream? Brenda was asking me earlier, Bobby, do we have like a countdown? I'm like, oh no, I don't, but I could just sing it. And she's like, do it. She's like, do it a cappella. And I was like, okay,
Bobby
fine.
said, challenge accepted. We're gonna do it.
Hey, you know, I was challenged to dance and sing on video. I did it. I was challenged to sing on my voice memo on my profile. Did it. This is now the third thing I've challenge accepted. So there you go. Welcome, everybody. This is the Knowing Greater Audience with LinkedIn Company Pages. We do this every month. Myself and Brenda Meller, hosted by the Thought Leadership Branding Club. And we've had a great time going from clubhouse rooms to now this live stream. However, it's our last show. We're not doing this in the new year. So, you know, we thank everyone who's been here and enjoying everything we've done and learn from us and ask questions. But we're going to do this a little bit of a longer show, but we want you to ask questions, share knowledge. So tell us where you're from, where you're listening in from. If you have questions about company page, we're going to cover anything and everything you want to hear. It's totally fine. I'm going to start by doing a quick introduction by saying, Brenda, please introduce yourself.
Oh, I thought you were going to introduce me and I was going to introduce you. Have we done that before?
Oh, we can do that. I don't mind doing that.
So I'll introduce you.
We did it before once, actually. So we can see what we remember.
Do you want me to do the introduction of you first and then you do my introduction next?
Sure. Go for it.
I'd like to introduce everybody. I got to put my arms the right way. Bobby Umar, the Bobby Umar, who is the head of the Thought Leadership Branding Club, who is a brand aficionado. He's a X-time TEDx speaker. I don't know the number offhand. Is it 7? 5? It's a lot. 5 times TEDx speaker. And he is just a good person to know, all around great person to know. I'm a huge fan of Bobby. And if there was like a fan club and there was like coffee mugs, I would have like a Bobby Umar fan club coffee mug. And that's it. How'd I do?
That's great. I'd like to introduce over here Brenda Meller, who is also the founder of Meller Marketing. She has a great company page and a great profile. My favorite LinkedIn influencers and thought leaders on this platform. She also, helps people leverage LinkedIn to get a slice of the pie of your digital presence. And so, I've always enjoyed working with her and also being featured on her 100 her list that she creates on the rock LinkedIn rock stars. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Is that how we met? I don't even know. Like I'm trying to figure that out.
It's interesting because the list started growing so much, Bobby, and it was so much work. In the beginning, I was publishing it weekly, and then I split it into different lists, and I did like one a month.
Right, I remember that. I remember the split.
And then at the end of last year, I started every time I would publish, I wouldn't accept self-nominations, but other people would nominate. And I got so many nominations coming in, I had to start applying criteria to screen some people out of the list. And I had a couple people that were not happy about being taken off the list without me asking them. And they were very vocal and very kind of negative about it. And I had some other folks that were understanding and they said, hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me know. And I appreciate being along the journey with you. And I kind of felt like it had run its course. Everything, there's like a life cycle in products. There's a life cycle with companies. There's a life cycle with people, human beings. There's a life cycle. And sometimes with efforts that we do, there's a life cycle. And I was trying to figure out what to do to make it manageable moving forward. That combined with I don't like negativity, and to me, I was struggling with how do I keep this going, and struggling with the negative, some of the negative comments that were coming out. And that wasn't what the list was about. It was always about like shining the spotlight on people that were rock stars, in my opinion, on the platform. And this is my opinion. This is not like the LinkedIn, the top. What do they call the LinkedIn top trainer? I don't know. They have like names for the LinkedIn list. Yeah. It wasn't a LinkedIn list. It wasn't like the Forbes Fortune 500 list. It was the Meller Marketing LinkedIn Rockstar list. Yeah. So I decided last year, the last time I published was like November, December, and I had different lists publishing at that time. And I didn't really announce that I was taking a break. I just stopped publishing it. Yeah. And I had about a month ago, I'm like, I want to do it again because I really do miss talking to people and featuring people. And then at the time when I published it, I had a bunch of more people being nominated, and I'm like, so much work I have to go through. And I do this work myself, screening people. And I'm like, it's too much work. I just finished launching a course. I've got some things I'm working on. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but you're still a rock star in my book, Bobby, for what it's worth.
Well, and the original question was that how we met? Because when did you start doing the list? You know,
it was in 2018, and I know the exact date because I was looking through the history of it, but it was sometime in 2018.
Okay.
And like I said, in the beginning, it was weekly. And then I think you came onto the list when I had everybody on one list. And then I ended up splitting it.
Right.
And there's like a LinkedIn trainer coach list. And then there was like other people.
Yeah. So I think
other people, because you were more in branding, like branding.
Sure. But I remember what I remember is I probably got to know you because I first got on the list, got tagged, and I was, hey, this is great. And then I commented and got to know you, and we connected. And then later on, I remember we had a message where we were talking about how you're trying to split them up and stuff. So I think that's kind of where the magic of the B Squared show began. So that's what I was getting at. And, when it comes to lists, like, I did a list last year of the top 100 thought leaders that I met last year.
Yeah, that was so nice of you.
But again, there was no criteria. There's nothing. It's just people that came to my head that I wanted to put in the list. And that's it. It's my list. I don't care. I mean, there was a list.
Everybody can create their own list. I've heard people.
Yeah, you can create your own list, and if you're upset about
your own list, you can create your name here list. Go.
Yeah, because there was a recent list that came out, and some people were upset about where they placed or not being placed, and or how it was created. Who cares? Like honestly, let people do what they're gonna do. I mean, as long as to me the general thing of gratitude is let's just share knowledge and let's promote all these people who are doing great work, and I'm happy to. Right. Do that. Then will I do the list again this year? Man, that was a lot of work. I'm not sure I'm going to do it this year. So,
I know,
I'd rather do a post where I just say, here's 10 people that just, rock my world and love them.
Right.
Do that post. And the next week, maybe like during the holidays, maybe I just do that. Just 10 people, because the newsletter took forever. Like it took me like 8 to 9 hours to put that thing together and tag everybody. Link. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenally long.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So we'll see. But anyway, back to business. This is all about LinkedIn company pages, and so we start with the traditional the start approach, which is Brenda. I'll let you lead this.
I've been working on this, Bobby, because
you always say that every single time.
What's that?
You say that every single time.
No, I have.
Bobby, I know it's coming up, but I was working on this.
I seriously was working on this because so what we're talking about right now is if you're watching this and you are a page admin of a LinkedIn company page, I want you to look up and see how many invitation credits you have remaining. So part of this is like we become accountable to each other. I've known this call, especially for the past week. I'm like, I'm not going to get on the call and let myself have 100 credits remaining. I'm not going to embarrass myself in front of Bobby. Right now I have 1 credit remaining. 1 out of 250.
Wow.
I've been working on like every day issuing like 10 to 15. Like when we came on the call at the beginning, Bobby, before we went live, I had 8 remaining. And I'm like, I got to issue them real quick so I can say 1. I always keep 1 because I want to, sometimes I demonstrate in a coaching call with a client, like here's how to use that feature. And if I've used all of them, I can't do that. So a little sidebar there. How about you? How many page invitation credits do you have right now?
Well, so what I do differently, I send them all out at once. I basically spend about 45 minutes and I go through the ones I want to send to and target them and whatnot, and I send them all out in one kind of swoop. Usually I do them while I'm in the middle of something. For example, I might be doing a LinkedIn audio room with Rachel or Deanna Russo, and then I'm doing that while we're chatting. I find that's an easy way for me to do stuff. The mindless thing, as opposed to spending quality time doing that.
Yeah.
But and then I saw that some people were accepting. What's interesting is that the LinkedIn algorithm report that Richard Vandenbaum came up with said that it wasn't as effective because the percentage didn't accept. But
right.
But still left, and then now there's currently 20, so 19 people accepted, which is great. And I also decided to not do as much because I wanted to give Brenda a fair shake this time to have a win. So end the year with a win for Brenda. Because I saw this a couple of days and I was like, what? Well, yeah, consider my Christmas gift.
It's a friendly but it is really, it's not like we're not here to embarrass each other, to put each other on the spot. We're here to like help support each other and lift each other up. But I think sometimes creating the friendly competition helps, because it's like you don't want to come on the call and have 250 credits, and in the back of your mind you're probably all the time thinking I got to get those going. But the real goal is to grow page followers so that we can support our brands, right? We can have more.
Yeah, the one thing that was interesting is that I don't usually do. I did on December 7th. I remember this because I was like, I just happened to notice. Oh, 250. I better start doing this. But it's not really part of my schedule. But I certainly try to keep it fresh. Well, the part I find interesting though is that like I get these, let's say 10, 20, 30 new connections on my page, but I still don't see them engaging. And part of it is a bit of a challenge for me. So like, when you invite the connections, it prompts you, why don't you post something? Oh, okay, let me post something.
Right.
So then I post, and then, they're not there. So I'll share a little update. I created a case with LinkedIn help and support to show them. And I know Michelle Raymond was also talking to people in the LinkedIn product development. Michelle Raymond is also another company page advocate and guru on this. And so I reached out to them on Twitter. I said, look, I'm just don't understand what's going on here. I said, look, I did a post that, on my profile page, very similar post on my profile page. I got thousands of views. And then I put on my company page, I have 22,505 followers. And when I post this thing, which is pretty compelling, and it's one of the LinkedIn trending topics, which they told me to create about. So I'm using all the right hashtags. And I had 9 impressions. And I'm like, I understand Facebook pages, they got into a bit of a, Facebook biz pages, even though they had 20,000 followers on Facebook page, they showed to 1,000 people. Right. But for me, if it's 22,000, I'm getting 9 impressions, they're showing it to basically 0.05%.
Right. That doesn't make any sense.
Which really sucks for me because it's like, it's very demotivating. And so so I went through my posts, and the ones that get traction, it would be a poll. When I do a LinkedIn trending topic that actually gets featured, then it starts to take off. But typically, most of them are quite low, and so I complained, and LinkedIn Help said, this seems lower than usual. So now they're actually expanding this case to do a little bit more investigation about what exactly happened. So stay tuned. I guess I'll find out.
You know what's interesting? I just had a client coaching call this afternoon. It's a client that I was helping with their company page management. And in the month of November, they boosted one of their posts. So I think they spent just a couple $100 on that boost. But their engagement, their impressions in the month of November, it definitely took it was more than 50% increase. And they only spent a couple $100. And they have, it's a smaller but still growing page following. And we were trying to kind of figure out what had happened. And I'm like, I wish I had a crystal ball and I could tell you exactly, but here's what I think. I mean, we're gaining traction on the page. We've been posting consistently over time. We've been using the page invitation credits to invite people to follow the page. We had a couple of events for their organization. And then the other thing is they boosted the post. So I kind of have to, in the back of my mind, think we rewarded LinkedIn. We paid into LinkedIn. And I think there was a trickle-down effect that occurred because it wasn't just the boosted post. It was like the entire month of November seemed to have a halo effect in an increase in impressions. And I told them, I'm going to go back to my LinkedIn training coaching community and say, did anyone else experience this? But I think it's a combination of factors. I don't think it's just because they paid for ads, but I think that has to contribute to it. What do you think, Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very common thing with most social media platforms to give a lot of encouragement to people so they continue doing it. I mean, the whole point of what they're doing with company pages here is very similar to the Facebook model, where we want you to pay for ads, and so they're now when I go to my page, it says, hey, do you want to boost this post? It says, hey, have you thought about ads? They're trying to get me to do that. I get that, and so I think that is a bit of a concern. And I also know from actually on TikTok, I just joined TikTok 3 weeks ago and started posting videos there. And, the traction I'm getting there is better than I expected for someone who's just starting out. For someone who has 63 people following him, getting 500, on average, getting about 400 to 500 likes per post is pretty high, right? So, and what's interesting is that they're all consistently around the same number. They're all around 450 to 400 to 525. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. And so I think that, and someone told me TikTok also wants me to encourage me to keep posting. And I know in the early days too, so I look at the Thought Leaders Brand Club company page. The Thought Leaders Brand Club company page has about 1,600 people, and Melanie Mitchell-Wexler's done a great job of building that up for us, which has been great. But the impressions she gets per post is pretty good. It's much higher. It's like anywhere between 50 to 200 impressions per post, which is great. So, at some point, I was getting great impressions at the beginning. Is it going to slow down when you do it for a long time? And so we have to just figure out ways to be smarter, stronger, and better as we navigate how we're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
So today we if you are here, please comment on the feed. We're actually streaming everywhere. So LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. If you have a comment, you see what's going on, and you want to learn about company pages and business pages, you can put your comments below. You can ask us questions. You can tag me and Brenda. We'd love to hear from you. But what I thought we'd start off with is maybe talking about what are some of the learnings from this past year? So if we look at the past year of what you've done with your company page, what's worked, what's not worked, maybe have a discussion about that.
Sure. And we've been going live, I think, for all 12 months. Didn't we start in January with this? I think
we started in March, but I honestly I don't remember with full details here.
We should
almost,
what I'm
year.
gonna do, Bobby. I'm going to go through and I'm going to find all of the videos of the broadcast that we did. And I'm going to create a landing page on my website with all of those videos. So if anyone wants to go back and rewatch them again, they'll be able to do so. So you just have to go to mellermarketing.com/subscribe and get on my email list. And I will put out an email with the landing page for all of those. So there you go. A little bonus there. Part of this is, I want to just talk about, we're talking about company pages and what do we learn, but part of this is consistency. And we've been doing this on the second Wednesday of the month at 2:30 consistently since we started. I think we had 1 month where we had to move things around. I think you had a speaking engagement or something.
Yeah, I remember.
Around. And there was even 1 month I was offsite at a conference and I had to go to a side table and set up and stuff for it. But I think a part of this is having a consistent plan. That was one of my key takeaways. I knew it was on my calendar every month. More importantly, our audience knew when to expect it. So if they were interested in the topic, they could click to add it to their calendar, the second Wednesday every month at 2:30. And we had a consistent, schedule, a plan in place. So people knew where to look for us. And also, we did this conversation on Clubhouse before. And we were, Michelle Raymond and I were leading this conversation on Clubhouse before. And I feel like Clubhouse kind of had its heyday during the pandemic. I don't know where Clubhouse is at right now. I go on there once or twice a month and that's about it. But I feel like now that LinkedIn has both expanded the ability to do live streams on company pages, also LinkedIn audio is now being rolled out to both individuals and company pages. I don't think it's consistently available to everyone just yet. Do you know, Bobby, do we have it on the Thought Leadership branding page? Do you have the ability to do a LinkedIn audio event there yet?
On where, sorry?
On the Thought Leadership branding page, do we have the ability to do a LinkedIn audio event?
No, just live streams, right?
So they are, I'm in the beta test for that program. And as part of signing up, they gave you access to it. And then we had to report back. And there's been some glitches here and there. I started a stream and it didn't work, or I couldn't bring people up to stage or things like that. But I'm just, I always think about when LinkedIn rolls out newer features. This is another one of my key takeaways. When LinkedIn rolls out newer features, we should try them, because of the fact that historically LinkedIn reward people for using the new features. And an example of this is LinkedIn audio. And I noticed the first time I did a LinkedIn audio event from my company page, it drew so many people in. I was shocked how many people were inside the room. It was it was 40 or 50 people. That's a lot for a company page audio event. And I'd never done one before. As the weeks have gone on, I've had, sometimes I've had lower numbers, sometimes I've had comparable numbers on that. But going back to your other point, Bobby, which is that pages don't get a lot of reach, they don't get a lot of impressions. Having 50 people on an audio event, you have to believe there's something going on behind the scenes in the algorithm where it was actively pushing it out and in a different way than they've pushed out notifications.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we know that. Right? We know that LinkedIn audio is being pushed to our. So basically, when you have a speaker on LinkedIn audio, it notifies all your followers. Mm-hmm. Whereas on a company page, when I do a live stream, does it notify the 22,000? I don't think so, because a lot of them aren't here. However, if it's audio, I think that because audio is being pushed, they're definitely sharing with your audience. And so, I think if I did a LinkedIn audio room on my 22,000 pages, then I'd probably get people in the room, which would be great. I'd love to have that. I think that's a really good point. And there's so much we could talk about in terms of just social audio in general. I mean, as someone who, founded the Thought Leadership Brand Club, I stay on top of all the different social audio trends. Clubhouse is a thriving, Clubhouse is a very thriving place in business for people who are doing it, just like YouTube is, just like Pinterest is, the question, and Instagram. It's just about how you build that profile and leverage it, right? So In fact, I often talk about multi-platform expansion and how to have reach in 3 or 4 different places, because it's a way to diversify our audience. Now, what's interesting,
different people, right? Because there's some people that
yeah,
are only on Twitter or only on Facebook
right,
or only on LinkedIn. And you're not going to reach
yeah,
them if you're on
yeah.
YouTube,
And
right?
I typically move them to LinkedIn or back to my email platform on my website. Sign up for my newsletter, and I think I want them on my email list, right? So I think there's a lot of benefit for that, which is funny because we just did this workshop in December on how to do 4 platforms: LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. And now we're doing a deeper dive workshop on Saturday to help a bunch of people try to figure that stuff out and work with them on that. So social audio, I love the fact that you're doing social audio on. We're doing the live streams on our pages. I think,
Right.
If we go back through the year, I mean, there's certain things that maybe I'm going to share a couple of hits and misses. Okay, so one miss. I'll start with a miss. One of the misses is that there was a lead generation form that were on pages, and I put those together. I put in the information, made the button sound good, and get people excited about, hey, click the button and reach out to Bobby and book a call and all this kind of stuff. And zero, and there's no engagement whatsoever. No one's clicking that button, even though I try to make it as enticing as possible. So that for me, it was a miss. And I think you told me about it, but I set up. It's still there, but
it's still
I've
there.
not
But
had a
nobody's.
bite.
I mean, we don't get notified. So even if leads came in, you got to go and look for them. But there's no leads
Right.
there. They're sitting there. It's almost like the providing services feature on personal profiles. I've gotten, I can count on one hand how many requests for services I've gotten coming into that. And
True.
more than half of them have been for services I don't do, like
Right.
resumes. Like I don't do resumes, So
yeah, no, you're right. The services page on the main profile, same thing. I took the time to get some recommendations from people, 5-star reviews, great, but then nothing's coming from there. So I think that's a miss for LinkedIn company pages, and an opportunity for them to fix that for sure. And then what about you? Was there any sort of thing that you think the LinkedIn company pages, there's a miss going on, or you tried something but it didn't really work out?
I mean, I've always looked at company pages, and I know there's always been this criticism that company pages don't get as much reach as personal profiles. And I've never had an issue because I've accepted it. And I would think about last night I was helping my daughter with algebra. And when you're studying algebra, there's some concepts you just need to accept. They don't make sense. You just have to accept them. And I said, Charlotte, tell me life isn't fair. They were putting things in the algebra equation that we didn't need to try to trick the kids. And I'm like, I was getting mad. But sometimes you just have to accept this is a principle, just like gravity. You can't change it. Gravity exists, right? So it's like company pages accept the fact that they will never get as much reach, but then let's think about how to use company pages to our advantage. So I've always tried to work on inviting people to my page to follow it. The other thing I do is, I think I've talked about this before, Bobby, when somebody asks me a LinkedIn question through a message, through a text, through an email, wherever, I don't just reply to them. I go on my company page and I put my post there with the response, and then I send them the link. And they're like, oh, that was a good idea. And I don't identify who it was, and I don't identify their company, but then at least I'm getting one person to come over. Sometimes the person will reply to the post and say thank you, and they might reshare it out. But I look at company pages as a destination. I've accepted it, just like I've accepted algebra. Algebra stinks. I hate algebra, but it's a principle, right? And it's the principle of having a company page. It's used as an extension of your personal brand. You'll always get better reach on your personal brand. But when people come to your page, if you have good content, they're going to scroll through and see stuff on there. And then if you're struggling with content, I use the questions that are coming in, and instead of doing one-to-one, which is really, I'm doing free advice for people, I use it for content instead. And then I don't feel too bad about not getting paid by, you know what I mean? It's kind of like I'm using that knowledge and expertise as page posts. So, I don't really, it doesn't bother me that they don't get as much reach, because I've accepted that that's what it is. And LinkedIn is a business, and they're probably doing the same thing that Facebook is doing, which is suppressing reach and trying to get more advertising out of it. And for some companies that does work if you want to spend a hefty amount of advertising, because you have a very concentrated business audience on here. So, I just roll with it, Bobby. I've accepted the issues. I don't worry too much about the dip in impressions and reach. I just try to make sure that every post I'm putting out there has value to my ideal target audience, And when appropriate, I'm including a call to action to try to stimulate comments and activity. And when people do comment back, I try to respond to them. So at least it keeps it active. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah, no, it's fine. And I agree with you. I mean, I've always said that, your personal profile LinkedIn is your overall thought leadership brand of who you are. And then the company pages are a place for you to go specific. So TLB Club has the thought leadership piece. That my personal branding page has that. My current Bob Umar page is all about coaching online programs. So like that's kind of where I focus my attention on that. So I think that certainly works really, really well. And and part of it again, when we talk to people, is like, do you have time for it? Do you have resources? Like, you have to think about that. Because people are asking me just on the LinkedIn audio room on Tuesday about, how do I find the time to do everything? And I say, well, look, you gotta figure out what's the best way to, you make the most use of your time. And so I think that's an important piece. I'll segue into, I think, a win for company pages. Like I said, I've often talked about the struggle to get engagement on platform on the content. I mean, assuming we're both sharing great value content on profile versus company page, obviously company pages doesn't do as well, and I think far worse than I think it should. But that said, what are some of the things that get people's attention? Well, the main thing that's been a win, and it's probably going to be driving my strategy moving forward. And there's a couple that I haven't done too. So one thing I haven't done is I haven't really done much work on commenting as a company page out there. Haven't done that. The other thing I haven't done is I haven't launched a newsletter, because I know that newsletter, that first time it goes out, it tells everybody. So my hope is if I can actually put together an amazing kick-ass newsletter, first edition, and send it out, of the 22,000 people, maybe, 5, 10, 20% can say yes. And now I have this great newsletter that gets their attention. So, I mean, that's something I haven't done. But what I have done is, I looked at LinkedIn trending topics, and I often get an email for the Content Creator Weekly email. And they talk about what are some of the trending things out there. But really the simple thing, and I think maybe it's good to show kind of how this works. I'm going to actually just do this.
You're going to screen share?
I'm going to screen share, yeah, because I think it's just easier for us to share screens here. And maybe you can share screen another time too. So let's go to my company page. So, I mean, one of the big things is, so you can see my screen now, right? Yep. So over here, the LinkedIn news, right? They have all these different things that are coming up here. So right here, Twitter scrap safety counts. And I'm a Twitter guy, so this is something I can easily talk about. And so I saw this piece. Oops, it's slow. Let me close everything else down. So, okay. So here's this one, and it was updated 9 hours ago. So if it's recently updated, that means it's a very hot trending topic. Now, I get the emails too, but so what I'll do is I'll look at this and then I'll talk about, oh, look at me, I'm third. Whoa, I'm here, boom. Okay, so I did a post on my company page.
Are you a featured commenter or whatever they call it?
Now, the sad part is I wasn't notified about this, but hey, there it is. So I'm third in the list.
People tell you?
No, they don't tell me. They only tell me when on my personal profile that I was featured. But here it is, I'm featured. And so this one I did a whole post about it. And I wonder if I can, so I'll go there. And so it gets featured on these pages, and then all of a sudden you start to get traction, right? And so that's worked really well for, not every post gets featured, but every once in a while, I'll get something which is nice. See, there we go. There's me promoter paid 4 impressions.
Hey, that's us. Look at that.
I know. Look, I have 4 impressions. That's great. Okay, so it's thinking, I want to show the actual piece that I did. But what happened was, and then I also tagged one of the guys who had written, another guy who had written on it, and here it is. So basically disbanding Independent Trust and Safety Council for a bad idea or terrible idea. And I tagged Stephen Lowell, and next thing you know, he comments on it, and all of a sudden we're having a great conversation. But look at the results. 670 impressions now. Look at me. It's because I get 10 or 12. I'm so happy with 670.
I know. It's like you've been trained to be excited about.
I know it's right. It's all relative, right? That's great. Whereas the other ones, then I did another one on Twitter, but then nothing happened, so I got only 48 impressions. Okay, that's still better than most. I think this is and other times they're too far down because they don't happen very often. But I typically, on a regular basis, let's see if I can stop sharing now here. How do I stop sharing? Here we go. Okay, on a regular basis, I will probably do that 2 or 3 times per week. Just see what's trending, because it's the best thing that's gotten me some traction. One of them I did, it took off, ended up with 15,000 views, and also I got a bunch of people follow my page. because I started a whole bunch of conversations. So for me, that has been the best success this past year, and it's going to be my strategy moving forward, because it's very easy for me to take any sort of piece of LinkedIn news and talk about it. If you know me on Twitter, I talk about politics, social justice, and news about everything. So it's very easy, even if I don't have to make a long post like I did here, I could just throw in a paragraph, put on the appropriate hashtags, share this, and it could probably get featured. So I think that's going to be a strategy for me going forward, and also a win for me for this year.
I'm wondering, when you're talking about like sharing the LinkedIn news, have you ever done the content suggestions inside the page? Have you ever tried those before? Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes, I know what you're referring to. I haven't done those, no.
Yeah. And I don't know if, I've always told people these are content suggestions coming from LinkedIn. It's their sandbox. So if they're suggesting them, give them a try,
Sure.
especially if you're having a hard time coming up with ideas and articles and things like that to share. But you want to read the article first, make sure that the content of the article aligns with the values and the objectives of your page and your organization. But I don't know where they pull those from. And sometimes if your page doesn't have a very large following, you don't even get access to that right away. So it's just another source of finding content, though.
Yeah, I agree. And going back to the big win this year, what's a big win for you this year with your company page?
Oh, I launched a company page masterclass, and it was at the end of last year coming into this year. So, really, it's not just for my page, but it's really helping to empower other people to get more out of their company page, to build their brand. And for some individuals, they enrolled in the masterclass when they were still in the process of creating their company and creating their brand. I even have a couple people that haven't created their company yet, but they enrolled in the masterclass so that they got in at a beta test discounted rate, but they wanted to get the knowledge so that when they're ready to launch, they can have it ready to go. So for me, it's like, the big win is, and this kind of aligns with my values too, is like helping to train and educate others on how to use their pages more successfully and how to navigate. And, it's like sometimes, Bobby, you got to take a step back and go, I actually do know a lot. It's like not like patting yourself on the back, but when you have knowledge to share with other people and when you're able to help them with using that knowledge, it's very gratifying. So for me, I would say that's the big win for me, having my company page masterclass out there and helping other business owners and marketers to expand their brand on LinkedIn.
Okay, that's great. And what are some other? Let's share some of the things that we're doing currently on our company page to help it grow. We talked about inviting connections. We talked about putting together some great content and making sure asking the questions. We talked about using LinkedIn News to post things. Is there anything else that you're doing this year that has worked, or at least what you, I guess, coach your clients on things they should be doing?
Yeah, a couple things. One is at the top of your page, there's an action button for your page. And most people leave that as the default, which is learn more. But if you go into the page, there's like a drop down for the action button, and you can make it, there's like 3 or 4 different options. I think like sign up is one of them. And there's learn more. I think there's visit website. I don't know if there's an enroll. There's a couple different buttons that you could have on there.
I know. Okay, cool.
I learned that nonprofits, I think it's a nonprofit page. If you have a nonprofit designation, you get a button that says donate, which you can then link to your donation page. But what I've been doing for myself, as well as for my clients, is if I have a new event, so I just finished with a series of webinars, and I had the action button pointing people to the landing page where people could sign up for the event. And in the tagline field, I would say, sign up now for my experience rich webinar. Click sign up, whatever the button name was, to enroll. So I've been using that as a way to encourage people to take an action, directing them towards activities. In the meantime, if you don't have anything, you could certainly direct people to your subscribe page where they can join your email list, or you can point them to a lead magnet or some other, like a downloadable. I've got like a 50 LinkedIn profile tips. I think that's what I have on my page right now. So even if you have them pointing it to your subscribe page, if they get there and they don't want to sign up, they're still on your website. So it's doing the same thing that Learn More was doing, but by redirecting them to a page where you can capture their email if they want to come into your email community. It's like a lot of people don't even think about the fact that you can change that button. They don't even know that you can change it, and they leave it as default to their web homepage. So that's been, for me, it's been a very effective tool in both getting more signups, getting more webinar registrations, and directing people towards activities.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And I think that for me, like the things that also, I mean, I create content. I guess I'll maybe ask you the question too, because I often will take content that I'm already doing on my profile page, and I think there's a lot of overlap for the things I talk about. So I usually sometimes I'll do original posts. So so for example, I shared a video a week or two ago on my profile page, and then several days later I post on my company page, and I made original content. Other times I'll decide to do it into an actual repost with some commentary and whatnot. And then on the rare occasion, I don't really do this much, but sometimes the company page posts it as well. I can share it on my profile. Well, that's something I do very often. I'd love to know kind of more what you do in those situations. Are you doing any of that?
In terms of, I'm sorry, I'm not understand the question. In terms of sharing
Well,
content?
the connection between your profile, your personal profile,
Oh
and
yeah,
your company page. So I will
yeah,
often either repost, or
right.
I'll just take the copy and do an original post on my company page, or vice
Mm,
versa, take my company page and post it and repost on
yeah.
my personal profile.
I guess what I've been trying to do is at least once a week from my company page, I tag Brenda Meller, and that will help to push that
Yeah,
post out into my homepage feed. And then I will reply as Brenda Meller. At least once a week for my personal profile, I will tag Meller Marketing, and that will drive people to the Meller Marketing page. And I try to do this a couple times a month where I go to my company page and I reshare to my personal profile. I don't like to use the repost myself. I'll talk
yeah,
about when it makes sense to use that. I like to use share with thoughts, because then what I'll do is I'll take the
yeah. Me
company
too.
post. I'll put in, it doesn't get as much reach because of the algorithm penalty, but it still does reach people who aren't following my page. And I'll kind of tell them why I'm sharing it. And then I'll say, by the way, follow Meller Marketing if you're not already doing so. And that will generate more page followers. Now, I was on the phone with a coaching client this morning, an executive client. He's in the C-suite. And we just worked through optimizing his LinkedIn profile. And now we're doing some monthly coaching. And he's at the level in his career where it really wouldn't make sense for him to be commenting and doing things all the time on the platform. But at his level, he carries a lot of social capital. So what I
Right,
told him is, at minimum, like once a week, you don't have to come up with new original content all the time, but at minimum once a week, go to your company page on LinkedIn, and underneath at the bottom of the post, you're going to see a repost button. When you click on that, it'll either say repost or share with your thoughts. Just click on repost, because then that basically takes the post from the page, it puts it out to your homepage feed, and it'll say Brenda Meller reposted this, but you don't have to do any effort. And I said, and that's really what people would expect at his level. They don't
right,
expect them to type something in. And I said, do that once a week. If you are on boards for other organizations, do that for a second page once a week. And that's it. I mean, that's all you need to do. I do like the repost for people who aren't going to do anything anyway. I do like it for that reason. And it does help to extend reach into their homepage feed without requiring any thought on what you type. But my preference is always, if you can, if you have the ability and if you have the desire to, share with thoughts, because I always feel like it's better,
yeah,
Bobby, to set it up with something rather
yeah.
than to have nothing on there. I don't know what your thoughts are on
I
that.
completely agree. I think the general take with social media content anywhere, whether and yeah, hey, Merry Christmas, company page lovers from Michelle Raymond. That's always nice to see. Yeah, the general rule is tell people the what, tell them the so what, and then tell them the now what. Right. So the what is telling us what's going on or what is you're sharing. The so what, why is it important? That's really important. And then now what is the call to action? If you can do that, then you're going to elevate the content engagement and what you're trying to do. So I think I never repost. I always post with my thoughts. No problem, Brenda. No problem. And for me, that's a big thing. Now, if you're just listening in, guys, feel free to ask questions, share comments. We'd love to. We're going a little longer today. Normally it's a half-hour show. Now we're going for an hour because it's our last show. So we need some love. We need some. There you go. Oh, speaking
I
of
can't, Michelle, don't
books.
be mad. I can't find the other one. I think it's up on my nightstand. Michelle Raymond and Michelle Griffin just published a personal branding book, and I know it's pink, but I can't find it. But this is her first one, Business Gold, that she had published with Lanier Johnson. So shout out to both of you. I'll put a tag in comments for both of you on that. But it's a book about business pages on LinkedIn. It's a really great book and an easy read. So I highly recommend that.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, for sure. That's great. That's great. So, moving forward, one thing I want to ask you before we, it's our last show. So, maybe one thing I want to ask about is the algorithm research came out, and gave some really great, really gave some really great information about company pages.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you, your thoughts on that. Is there anything that really stuck out at you?
Are you referring to the Richard Vanderblom report?
Yeah. So there was
Yeah.
at least three or four pages worth of stuff on, or I guess sheets, images
Yeah.
where they talked about it.
I'm not remembering anything top of mind for company pages. Isn't that terrible? I remember a lot of things more on the personal profile. Things like don't edit within 10 minutes of a post going
Right.
out.
Yeah.
Don't post more than once every 18 hours.
Yeah.
And there were some other things, but like the company page, like nothing's really jumping out at me as being particular. It wasn't like it wasn't good data. It was like I either knew it already or I've experienced it firsthand, or was kind of validating, some of my concerns on there. But by the way, a huge shout out to Richard Vanderblom and his team. He doesn't work for LinkedIn. They're independent. And I think there's something to be said with people who are producing research who don't have a vested interest in the company in terms of being an employee at the company. They were, a third party who is an expert on the platform. And I'll see if I can find the link and I'll drop it in the comments there. I don't know, Michelle, if you were noticing the same, like if there wasn't anything on there, I was like, wow, that wasn't like, it wasn't like anything really. There were some things about length of posts and things like that, but I'm not remembering anything, Bobby, that was jumping out as a huge surprise to me. So sorry, I don't have a better answer for you on that.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking, I'm trying to find the document that I have here, but I was the same way. There was nothing there that really struck me as new or insightful or really kind of blowing my mind that would change my strategy. The only thing that I found compelling was the fact that the suggestion was that invite connections wasn't as effective. But then the thing to think about is how do you define what is effective? What does that even mean? Because
Right.
You could theoretically say, well, if I'm getting 20 new page followers out of the 250 invites, that's technically less than 10%, but I think it's effective. So, I like that. So, I mean, again, it all depends on, how you look at it and how you see it. So I think that's an important piece. And Rachel's like sharing some great knowledge here already. Rachel, we should have got her for our last show. We should have got her on here.
We should have. Well, can we invite her in, or is it not possible to do that? Can we do that?
It's possible. I could probably give her the link to this. Let me see if
Michelle,
I can do that.
Do you want to join us? I don't know what time of day it is because Michelle's in Australia.
Yeah, exactly. It's so early, it's so early there.
You could put on a Santa hat, Michelle, just like I did, because I'm like kind of like end of the day, and I'm like, I don't know.
Let me see. I'll see if I can ping her on LinkedIn while we're chatting. With that though, maybe for me, like I didn't see anything that got my attention except for that one thing about the invite connection. But that's something to me I'm still doing. I think it's a really good thing to do, to be honest. Yeah. So I'm going to stick with that for now. And Michelle only just woke up, so you could be on audio. That's totally fine.
Can you be like on audio, but not be like on video?
No, just don't put your camera on, right?
Yeah, you can like come on, Michelle, and just don't put your camera on. We won't like judge you or anything.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. We're gonna message her right now. I'm gonna message her.
I feel like your book is upstairs. I want to show your other book on camera, but I don't think it's in.
That's true. Okay. Here, I'm just sending her you just gotta message Michelle that says, hey, and then here's a link. So hopefully that works. If you're able to pop up, that's totally fine. But I understand. So I see, okay, LinkedIn algorithm. I don't have, shoot, man, where the heck is it? Okay, I can't figure it out. But that's okay. Let's move on since we can't figure it out. I'll look for that. That's it. Let me go to Brenda to share thoughts on what's your plan for, is there anything, what's the plan for next year? Like what's the plan for next year for company pages for you?
So here's what I'm working on right now. I'm working on a checklist. It's going to be a free downloadable checklist for people on things that you should do now as you think about year end or the start of 2023, your checklist for your company page. Things like, it's like so crazy to say this, but like update your page header if you haven't updated it in a while. And I'm going to give you the what you should do and the why you should do it, because you might have new products and services to feature. And if it's been on there forever, it might be kind of stale and old and you haven't thought about it. So I'm going to go through maybe like my top 10 items that I would include on the start of 2023, things that you should do on your company page if you haven't done them in a while. And other things like make sure that you've reviewed your page admins. Look and see who those people are, like literally look through the list. And you might discover, hey, Johnny left the company in the past year. We should probably take him off of there. Or we had contracted with I'm going to use Michelle's name because I see her inside chat. We had contracted with Michelle to work on a project with us, and that concluded in the fall, and we probably don't need to have her have access to our page anymore. And then there also might be a case where maybe the person that was on the page left and they've been replaced by a new person. So you might want to like add in new people as well. And even if you don't have a large team, maybe you're self-employed, the checklist will help you to remember that you should always have 2 people having access to the page. And if you are self-employed, you don't have any employees, the second person should be a family member, a spouse, a partner, or a child, somebody that you trust, so that if you ever, get kicked off of LinkedIn or get thrown into LinkedIn jail and you can't get back onto your account, usually that might take a couple days to get back through. And, I've heard a lot of people getting their hands slapped, and sometimes they don't know why. And LinkedIn's like, oh, we made a mistake. And then you get back in. But in the meantime, you might have things running on your page that you need to get access to. So having a second admin will help you. So that's what I'm working on right now. Again, if you go to mellermarketing.com/subscribe, as soon as I have this available, I'll be publishing it, but I'll also put it on my Meller Marketing Company page and instructions on how to get that download. So that'll be up in January.
Okay, but I guess what I kind of want to get into is not I'm glad you're doing that, and definitely follow Brenda and ask for the thing, look for those things. But it's more of a general take in terms of, for you, when you think about your company page in 2023, I mean, is there anything specific that you're planning to do that's different in terms of how you engage your company page, or you're doing this strategically? That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, what are you personally going to do differently?
One thing I'm going to discontinue doing, I did try this for the past 6 months, is I moved my LinkedIn Live series off of my profile into my company page, in part because, Michelle Raymond, I know she's doing this with Good Trading Co., and she started her series there. And maybe that's part of the reason mine wasn't as successful in terms of impressions. I know hers started there, so people were always looking there. Mine started on my profile, and I moved it to my company page, in part because of the fact that it's hard to find videos in your activity feed. Whereas on the company page, the videos would sit under the videos tab, even if they were LinkedIn Live, and even if they were a half hour, an hour long. Whereas the other videos, they would have to be uploaded organically and have to be under 10 minutes long. So I'm discontinuing that because the reach hasn't been as great, and I'm moving those back into my Brenda Meller activity feed. I'll probably start repurposing snippets of it into my company page going into the next year. But beyond that, Bobby, my plans are still, I'm not expecting that company pages are going to change substantially in the coming year. There may be some new features coming on, or maybe coming off of the pages. One of the recent things is they now have employee verification. And I've seen that in action. Like, I had somebody visit a page and it says you haven't verified your email yet. So it's nice to see LinkedIn is working on that. So I just want to, I'll keep the pulse on pages and, manage my own page through that process, be aware of new features as they are launched, and I will use them, and I'll kick the tires and teach people what I know about them. But beyond that, I don't really have, and it's not like from December to January, I'm going to be doing a 180 change on a
No.
So yeah.
No, I think for me, the main shift is I'm going to focus, because I used to focus on original content, or I used to focus on, content that I've already shared, but then repurposed it. And I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shift it, because I think taking the LinkedIn news trends and just posting about that 3 times a week, I think is a fine and easy thing for me to do, because I'm pretty good at I'm pretty fast. Like, that's the one thing I know I'm good at. And because I've taken on TikTok now, and because there's Clubhouse, and now because I'm now, trying to navigate Twitter and whatnot, and I'm trying to teach people how to do the whole multi-platform expansion, how to actually navigate that. Because of TikTok, I now have to figure out where I'm going to spend my time. And to be frank, the company pages have not really panned out for me in terms of direct business. I've gotten direct business from Clubhouse, from Twitter Spaces, from Instagram, from LinkedIn itself, but not the company pages. And so I still think company pages are really relevant and important to have. And with the Thought Brand Club, company pages is doing well. There's a community there. Other people like John Aspirian have created great groups and whatever that have done very, very well. I'm not really not interested in curating a brand new group. I got one with the Thought Brand Club, so that's good. So for me, I'm just going to, 2 things I'm going to do differently. One is to save my time. I will take 2 of my posts that I do on my profile, and I will re-share it with my own thoughts on my company page. That's 2 twice a week. And then 3 times a week, I will take just a regular LinkedIn news or trending topic and just give my thoughts on it, whether I want to go deep or even just a quick paragraph on it. I'm pretty fast to that, having been trained on Twitter, so I can do that pretty quickly. And that's going to be my plan. I'll still do the invite connections. I'm still going to, sharing personal posts certainly will go really well. And that's kind of been, and then the other thing that might happen is, depending on where newsletters stand by somewhere mid next year, that's something I will continue to do. And I'll also continue to do live streams. I think if I do a live stream, my general take is to live stream it on my company page, not on my personal profile. I kind of like doing it because you don't do one on LinkedIn, right? So I like having the live stream on my company page. So those are things, that's kind of how I'm shifting things for myself.
Well, good. Well, I look forward to seeing your newsletters coming out. I'll be sure to let you know.
Yeah.
What's your target date? Should we hold your feet to the fire on this, or what?
Yeah, sure. Mid to end of December of next year.
It was kind of broad.
I'm giving myself 11 months. No, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be.
That's fair. You know what? You got 12 months. And if you knock it out of the park and get it out on March, you can message me and be like, hey, I got my newsletter up. I beat my goal by 9 months. And then you can feel good about it. It's kind of like sometimes when I'm doing my to-do list in the morning, I'll put drink coffee on there so I can check it off. Right? It's okay.
You like your list.
Yeah.
Well, see, Michelle's already saying newsletters. Let me show this comment here. Michelle's saying newsletters will get better next year for pages. So that's great. So I will do that when I feel like it's better, and plan something epic. Because for me, it's always about that first thing, like that first image, first title, first description, and the first couple lines of your newsletter. You need to get people and nail them with something amazing. And so for me, I got to figure out what that's going to be, and try to get their attention. So we'll see what that is. But I will launch something for sure. So
fair enough. Very good. Yeah.
So I know we're coming near the end of the time, and we went a little bit longer today because it's our last show, and I think first I want to just say I want to thank Brenda for being part of this with me and with the Thought Leaders Brand Club. I mean, you are definitely an incredible contributor, an incredible leader in the community. Everyone looks up to you. We like you. We love you. You're just a great personality. I consider you also a friend, and it's amazing that I haven't met you in person. It blows my mind the people that I've met that I haven't actually met in person.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So I think that's been great. I mean, the pandemic, Clubhouse, and now this, LinkedIn and whatnot has certainly brought us closer together, which has been great. So I'm really glad for you having done this, and on behalf of the Thought Leaders Brand team, we hope there'll be something we can do in future, whether you guest appear on one of our LinkedIn Mastery series or anything else you want to do. But we're always here for you, and just want to let you know that.
Well, the feeling is mutual, Bobby, and I want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to be on the series with you this year. And it's like I said in the beginning, I think everything has a life cycle, and sometimes it's nice to not continue on with certain programs and series because it makes room for other things. And we've tried this. I've had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I'm not going anywhere. We'll still engage with each other. A lot of times it's funny because sometimes we'll DM back and forth on Twitter, or we'll email back and forth. I mean, we'll still be here for each other, and I think that's the important point. We've gotten to know each other, and we've delivered great value. I hope our audience has felt that as well. By the way, you're watching and you haven't left a comment, and you enjoyed the show, we'd love a comment below, because we don't get performance reviews anymore. I don't, Bobby. I don't think you do either, right? Performance reviews from your manager.
No. I'm the manager.
Right. I know. I mean, we should do our own. I should do my own performance review.
Unless my kids say, "Hey, Daddy, you suck,"
that would actually be a really fun, sometimes people create lead magnets and stuff like that. If you're self-employed, download your performance review, and everything would be stacked in your favor. Are you happy on Mondays? Happier now on Mondays than when you were when you were working for a company? Yes. Okay, perfect. You got a 5-star rating, right? We can have some fun with that.
Yeah, that would be. And so, I mean, you've already talked about some of the things that you're doing, but maybe repeat for the audience what are some of the things you're working on that's happening.
Sure. So, my catchphrase, and Bobby, you mentioned this in the beginning, is I help people get a bigger slice of the LinkedIn pie. I typically work with individuals that are either self-employed, coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, authors, or people who work in a marketing role or director level role. or above at their organization on, helping them with their profiles, helping them with their company page, team training. I'm now really starting to shift more heavily, Bobby, into digital courses. So I just launched a experience rich job seeker course. Enrollment's already closed for that. And we're getting started in that later on in the month and in January. But after that, I'll be looking at my social selling masterclass. And obviously LinkedIn's made a lot of changes, so I'll be updating that. And after that one is updated and complete, then I'll be working on the company page masterclass as well. So lots of exciting things to happen. If you're following me on LinkedIn, you'll hear about it.
Okay. And I think, for me, I do something similar to you basically, but my focus is what I call thought leadership branding. And so what I do is helping businesses and brands, so usually business owners and senior execs and leaders of teams, to help them build a stronger digital presence and thought leadership brand. So that includes a bit of personal branding, that includes content creation, that includes building meaningful relationships, that includes working on confidence and mindset and storytelling and public speaking to help them elevate, whether they want to use Twitter or they want to use LinkedIn or they want to use social audio. Those are probably the three ones that I try to focus on, but they may have other needs as well. But for me, digital presence and thought leadership is a big part of what I do. And then I think that the two things I'm working on right now. So we're doing this. Thought Leadership Brand Club is running this workshop on how to multi-platform content creation.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a big thing we did. We ran one last 2 weeks ago. It went really well. There were 90 minutes of training with myself, Ilya, and because Ilya has video, TikTok, and Instagram in the bag. And although she and I also have LinkedIn, Melanie did LinkedIn, I also did a whole thing on Twitter. And what we're doing this Saturday is actually a deeper dive. We're basically taking only 10 people max, and you come in to 3 different breakout rooms. And if you want us to go through personally and hands-on, take you through how to do Twitter, I'll work with you to edit your profile, create tweets for you, show you how to monetize. I'll take you through the entire thing in terms of exactly what I do, how to run a Twitter space. We'll do that right there live in the workshop. Same thing with TikTok, same thing with Instagram with Ilya, same thing with LinkedIn with Melanie and mine and Ilya's support. So that if you want that hands-on help and really going through your strategy or your profile to expand beyond LinkedIn or how to integrate those things, that's what the workshop's about. And then the other thing I'm doing is I'm bringing back my 5-day thought leadership branding challenge. So basically what I do is, and this one actually for the first time is free. I used to charge a little, I'm going to make it free. Well, because I already got the slides prepared, so it's pretty easy for me to show. But I'm basically, and this is going to be awesome, it's going to be in the middle of January, I think January 16th to 20th. For 5 days, I'm going to take you through my entire methodology and how to build a thought leadership brand for yourself. So day 1 is about mindset, confidence. Day 2 is about content creation and community building. Day 3 is about storytelling. Day 4 is about I'm trying to remember what it is now. What's the next one? And then I think the next one is about building meaningful relationships. That's what it is. And finally, the day 5 is all about personal branding to create more purpose, focus, and direction. And we do the entire 5 days for you. So if you're interested in that, there's a LinkedIn event that's already set up. It's free to attend. So you're going to get access to me and all my best training for 5 days in a row, 1 hour each. So if you're interested in that, definitely DM me or comment below. I'll share the knowledge with you guys.
Awesome. So I'll make sure. I think I've commented on some of those on the other networks too. But if you ever need a little added boost to that, Bobby, feel free to message me the link or tag me in on it, and I'll jump in there.
Well, one thing I haven't done actually, and I probably should do, is I should probably invite a couple of guest speakers to share something for like 5-10 minutes. So maybe I'll reach out to you for that. I mean, might be fun. But thanks so much for that. And so we are now at the end of this show. It's been a great time with you, Brenda. And those of you who are watching this thing, watch the replay. You can go back and look at all the previous ones we've done. And I mean, if you want, company pages are a big part of your brand. They're an extension of who you are. It's a branch that can build connections, build community, and build your business. So that's why they're so important. And I encourage you to continue to put the work into these company pages and try to get the best out of them as you can. So any other final thoughts before we close, Brenda?
Yeah, I would say, just continue to follow Bobby because he's dropping gems everywhere he goes. And this series was all about company pages, but you can learn so much from this wonderful human being here. And he is a connector. He's like got this magnetic personality. He connects so many really amazing people. And he's just got so much knowledge. So make sure that you are, direction I'm pointing, make sure that you are following this man right here and connecting with him, invite him to connect. If you're not connected with him already, when you invite him to connect, you've probably got the creator mode set up, right, Bobby, on your profile? So you have to click on the more button because you're going to be like, there's no connect button. Yes, there is. It's always there. You got to go on the more button, or if you're on your mobile device, click on the 3 dots, and then there's going to be an option that will say personalized invite or connect in there. Make sure that you say, hey, I watched your live show today with Brenda. Like, name drop me if you know me. And he'll be like, oh, yeah, you watched the show, and he'll know what you're talking about in there. But yeah, I think beyond that, you know, there's so much knowledge out there about company pages, and we're just 2 people who have knowledge to share. Michelle J. Raymond is another person that's out there on the platform. And I know there's a handful of others too, Bobby. You probably know of others inside thought leadership branding community. But I really enjoyed this. And I don't see this as a sad ending. I think this is like, you know, there's a continuation of knowledge and learning that will be out there. And we'll see each other in different places. And our audience will be able to find each other in different places as well.
Is it okay if we take a picture of us?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I'm gonna take a picture of the. Here we go. And
I want to take one too. I'm
smiling.
going to post it on my Insta later. There we go.
Make sure smiling. Okay, and there we go. Okay, that's awesome. So with that, adios, Wiedersehen. Have a great holiday, Brenda. If I don't speak to you, I'm taking off in the end of next week out west. Have yourself I love the hat. Have a wonderful holiday season. Happy New Year, and let's stay in touch and continue to book calls and talk to each other.
Absolutely. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you, Bobby. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody.